Hello, my name is Les Brown. Today I want to talk to you about your goals and your dreams. I want you to think about something that's important to you. Maybe it's a personal goal. I know in my own personal experience, my goal was to be able to buy my mother a home. I'm adopted. And so I wanted to be able to do something special for my adopted mother. She was a domestic worker for wealthy families on Miami Beach, and she cooked for these families, and we ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. And she kept the children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she kept. And you could imagine as a kid, I used to say, "Mama," on the way home on the bus from Miami Beach back to Liberty City and Overtown. I said, when I become a man, I'm going to be able to buy clothes for us and buy groceries for us. But not only that, I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful home, just like the homes that you clean every day. And she said, "Leslie, you don't have to do that." I said, "I know, but I'm going to." And you know what? The reason that I said that, I believe that it was possible. See, the family that Mama worked for, Mr. Sidursky used to listen to motivational messages every day. And I was very fortunate to have to take care of the needs of Mr. Sidursky. He had to shine his shoes and dust his office, and he was very rude to me. He said, "Leslie," especially had guests, "did you clean this?" "Yes, I did, sir." "Look at it, how can you say that?" "I do apologize, sir." And his guests would say, "Don't talk to him like that. That's not nice." But the truth of the matter is, I didn't clean the office as good as I could have, okay? And the reason I did not is because I wanted him to call me into the office so I can spend time doing it over again as I listened to the motivational messages that he listened to every day by Earl Nightingale. I can remember as if it were yesterday. We become what we think about. All of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. I can hear the voice of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. Don't allow your negative thoughts to hold you back. You are greater than your circumstances. I can remember when he was listening to Zig Ziglar. If you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. I can remember as he's listening to Jim Rohn, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. And unbeknownst to me, those messages, they're programming my mind. And it helped me to begin to develop a mindset of possibility. I want you to think about your goals and dreams of what you want to achieve on a personal level. Mine was to buy my mother a home, to take care of her. What is your goal? What's your dream? What is something that you want to do with your life? And I can say to you, based upon my own experience, and I don't even know you, that it's possible. That you have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. And your mindset is crucial as you look at your goals and your dreams and having a spirit of optimism. I had a friend who went to New York City to apply for a job, and she came back and I said, "Hey, how did things go?" She said, "I didn't get the job." I said, "What happened?" She said, "They turned me down, but I didn't think I was going to get it anyhow." And I thought after I left her presence, well, why did she go in the first place? She went there with a mindset that she was not going to get the job. I believe that we have an energy and a spirit about us that people telegraph that. But I believe that had she gone there, there's no guarantee that, hey, with a sense of expectation, I'm going to get this job. I think her preparation, her attitude, and her behavior and her energy would have been totally different. I'm reminded of two little boys who were in Philadelphia, and they were playing on some ice, and they got out too far, and one fell through the ice. And he was thrashing, trying to get out. And obviously, his friend looked at him and panicked, and he couldn't reach him, he couldn't pull him out. And so he saw him going under the ice, and it was very hard, and he couldn't break through. And so this little frail fellow ran, he saw a tree in the distance, and he scampered up this tree, and he broke off a big branch and came back and savagely began to beat the ice, and he broke it. And miraculously, he saved his friend. And when the paramedics came, people were looking at him. He had a blanket around him. This little puny dude, around 12 years old. And people start asking the question as they looked at him and they looked at the branch, how could this little small fellow break this branch off and beat this ice and break it and save his friend. How could he have done that, as small as he was? And as they were scratching their heads, a gentleman who was there said, I can tell you how he did it. And everybody said, how? And he said, there was no one here to tell him that he couldn't do it. See, a lot of people are not really living their dreams and living the kind of life that they are capable of living because of the fact that they have been inundated with so many negative conversations. Have you ever had a goal and dream of something you wanted to achieve and you shared it with people that you love and thought they would be excited for you, and they said to you, you can't do that? You know, MIT did a study, and the study indicated if I tell you you can't do that, somebody else has to come along and say, you can do it. You can do it. Don't listen to him, Ruby. You can do it. John, don't listen to Les. You can do it. They have to say that 17 times before they can neutralize that one time. That's why my favorite book says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And so by listening to those motivational messages, every day when my mother went to do domestic work on Miami Beach, it began to give me a sense of optimism, of the possibilities of the kind of life that I can live. And I'm saying to you, as you listen on a regular basis, as you begin to program your mind deliberately, the reason that most people don't achieve their goals is because they are thinking like everybody else. 16 revolutionary words. Be ye not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's an ongoing process. What are your goals? What are your dreams? Earl Nightingale was right. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. And so you want to take the time every day to listen to things that can help to program your mind positively, because at the end of the day, if you don't program your mind, it's going to be programmed. Trust me, it's going to be bombarded with all kind of head trash, commercials. I was at a service station pumping gas and a commercial came up. I mean, you get on the elevator and commercials are there. You look at billboards, there are messages is coming in, over 5,000, 10,000 messages on a regular basis. And so as you look at your goals and dreams, it's very important that you are intentional about controlling what goes on in your mind, because everything gets in through the eyes and through the ears. So, what do you want? What do you want for yourself? What I'm doing right now, I didn't do it for 14 years. You know why? Because I was suffering from possibility blindness. Have you thought about doing something and you looked at what you wanted to do and your heart said, I could do that. And then your mind asked, how? And then you start thinking, well, I can't do that. I don't have a college education. I can't do that. I don't have an MBA or a PhD. I can't do that. I've never worked for a major corporation. Why would corporations reach over people with PhDs and MBAs and years of experience and pay me to come in to do something I've never done? I thought about doing this for years, and I talked myself out of it. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Shakespeare says, therefore, dear Brutus, it's not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. And so as you look at yourself and look at your goals and look at your dreams, I'm saying to you that it's possible. Because if anybody at any point in time had a goal, had a dream of what they wanted to achieve, and they made it happen, then it's possible that you can do it too. But you've got to be intentional about programming your mind. So here's some things that's very important. I want you to hold in mind what it is you want to do in your personal life. What is it that you'd like to do? Maybe you want to do something for someone you care about. That was the goal and dream that I had. And I purchased 4 different homes for my mother. And I want you to think about your financial goal. You know, people say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves. I have a friend named Rita Davenport, and Rita said, money can't make you happy, but it's right up there with oxygen. And I agree. agree with that 100%. So as you look at your goals and dreams, I want you to think about your financial freedom number. What does that look like? That once you achieve that, it will alleviate a lot of stress. Once you achieve that, you have more time for yourself and for your family. You can go on that dream vacation you've been thinking about, or buy that dream car or home that you desire. Once you earn that amount of money, it would be like becoming debt-free. I want you to think about your financial freedom number. And then once you come up with that number, and I want you to write it down, as you come up with that number, I want you to multiply it 100 times. Yes, 100 times. Read my lips, 100 times. Why? Because I found that most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss. No, most people fail in life because they do what I did for a major part of my life. Aim too low and hit. And most people don't aim at all. That's why there's a saying that if you don't know where you're going to end up someplace else. And so you are serious about your goals and dreams. I can say to you that you've got to affirm yourself, you've got to tell yourself, you've got to encourage yourself that it's possible, that you've got to talk to yourself on a regular basis. I'd never forget, I had to speak in the Georgia Dome for a friend of mine, Dexter Yeager. And Dexter Yeager is a multi-millionaire. He makes over $1 million every 17 hours in this organization that I spoke for. And he invited me to be his guest speaker, the headliner, before 80,000 people in the Georgia Dome. I panic. And the first thing happens when I become afraid, I have to go to the bathroom. So I went to this bathroom and they came knocking on the door. Les, the band is stalling. You need to come out. And I said, okay. And I was talking to myself saying, I can do this. My mind went blank because I became overwhelmed when I peeped out front and saw 80,000 people in this stadium. It was the largest gathering I'd ever seen like this. I've seen it for sporting events, but for a speaking event, I'd never been in that kind of environment before. The most people I've ever spoken for up to that time was maybe about 500 or maybe 1,000, but 85,000. I went to the bathroom 7 times because 7 is my favorite number. You know, I'm one of 7 kids. My social security number is 267. My phone number is 702. Did I tell you my favorite number is 7? God made the world in 7 days. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Did I tell you I went to the bathroom 7 times because 7 is my favorite number? Well, finally, they got Mike Williams, my mentor, and he came and he knocked on the door of this portable restroom. He said, Brownie. And I said, yes. He said, come out. I said, Mike, I'm scared. I can't think. He said, are you afraid? Admit it. I said, yes, I am. I'm nervous. I just can't do it, Mike. I'm scared. He said, Brownie? I said, yes. He said, are you listening to me? I said, yes. He said, they came to see you. You didn't come to see them. You got this, Brownie. You can do this. Wow. Let me tell you what he did. One of the things I do is train speakers how to change lives. What he did was he distracted me. I was caught up in how big the crowd was. I was caught up with saying, what can I say to them? I was breathing hard. I was feeling overwhelmed being in that setting. And when he spoke, I knew that he believed in me. When he spoke, it's like he saw me on stage speaking and he convinced me that I could do it. See, sometimes it's very important for you to hear this. Sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And so when I looked at myself and I looked at where I was, what I said to myself, Mike believes in me. He believes that I can do this. And I'm saying to you, as you look at your goals and look at your dreams, One of the things that's important in maintaining an achievement-driven mindset and a spirit of optimism is having someone in your corner, having someone who believes in you, having someone who can see what you can't see. See, sometimes you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. That's why it's very important for us to have coaches, people who can encourage us, who can inspire us. You know, Muhammad Ali said, "I'm the greatest," but he never won a championship without Angelo Dundee in his corner. People say that Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all times, but he never won a championship without Phil Jackson as his coach. And so, as you work on yourself and work on your dreams, I'm suggesting that you get someone in your life that you can partner with, someone that can see what you can't see, someone that when you feel you can't make it, someone when you feel I can't do this, and they can give you a word of encouragement and will make all the difference in the world. And I finally came out. I came out, and as we were walking toward the stage, I stopped, and I said, "Will y'all pray for me?" And they did, and I grabbed Dexter's hand and put it on my head. I don't know why I did that. Okay. And I finally went up, and I did it. And the speech was called, "It's Not Over Until I Win." And what I really meant about that, it's not over until you win over that inner conversation that you have with yourself. See, there's some things that you can do that you don't know right now. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not available to you. My favorite book says, "Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor is entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you." There's some things that you can do that the heart can feel it, can experience it, but the mind can't get itself wrapped around it. And that's why I'm saying, what are your goals? What are your personal goals? What are your financial goals? And what's your social contribution? I believe we live in the greatest country in the world that gives us an opportunity to leave a legacy. Horace Mann said, "We should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind." One of the goals I have as a 17-year cancer conqueror is to let people know you are more powerful than cancer. One of the goals I have is to reduce the number of women who die from breast cancer. My mother was a 22-year breast cancer conqueror. One of the goals I have is to teach people, everyday average people outside of the church and outside of politics, both of which I believe polarize and divide people, but ordinary people who want to live an extraordinary life, how to use their story, how to use their voice to make a difference, or use their knowledge to create a financial empire for themselves. What's your goal? What's your dream? What will your legacy be? At the end of the day, when you leave here, what are 3 things that you want said about you when you check out? Because we're going to all go. Nobody's figured out how to get out of life alive. A lot of people go through life not attempting to do anything big or major with their lives because they are trying to play it safe. Hello, listen to me. Hello, there's no safe position in life. Hello? There's no safe position. You can't get out of here alive. You're going to die anyhow. And people who believe that it's possible that they can have their dreams, these are people that are daring. Helen Keller said life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. Decide that you're going to make your life a daring adventure. Decide to become a risk taker. Viscott said if you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? Listen, I don't know you, but here's what I know about you based upon my own experience. You have something special. You have greatness within you. I don't care if you are going through some tough times right now. You are greater than your circumstances. What you are growing through, not going through, what you are growing through will help you to become a better person. There are periods in life when you have to realize that you have to come to a place within yourself where you say, I'm not going out like this. I'm not going out like this. You've got to get to a place where you say, I've had it. was working on a job and they didn't like me and I didn't like them. They paid me just enough to keep me from quitting, and I worked just hard enough to keep from getting fired. Okay? It was a contract of mediocrity. And I got to the point, and this is when people change their lives. I got to a point where I said, hey, I've had it. I'm out of here. Where are you going? I don't know, but I'm out of here. You're about to make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. You're about to make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Come on. I can say to you, as you look at yourself, look at your goals, look at your dreams, what do you want to do with your life? It's possible. If anybody at any point in time in history had a goal, had a dream, and made it happen, then it's possible that you can have your goal. It's possible that you can have your dream. And as you look at yourself, work on yourself every day. Well, Les, what about those negative thoughts? You can't kill them. They're like little weeds. They keep on coming back. You can't kill weeds. They grow through the cracks of sidewalks. And so you can overpower those negative voices by listening to motivational programs, by tuning in on a regular basis to hear my voice, by reading 10 to 15 pages of something positive every day, by going to seminars and workshops and mesmerizing yourself with material that can help you to begin to get a different vision of yourself, to change your whole approach of how you see life. And it will help you to get to that next level. It'll help you to get unstuck. And how does that happen, Les? It's a process. I wish I could just tell you, all you have to do is just think positive and be enthusiastic and everything is going to work out all right. No. You can have a positive mental attitude and life will put some knots on your head. You know, Forrest Gump said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. When you have goals and dreams, think it not strange that you'll face the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might, you will have tribulations. But in the midst of it all, you've got to believe it's possible. It's possible. A friend of mine, he was facing a life-threatening disease, Dennis, and he felt it was possible, even though his body was racked with pain, even though he was diagnosed with cancer at 18, even though the doctors called his family in and said he's not going to make it. He held on because he believed it was possible, and he was not just a statistic. It was possible that if he had the faith, if he had the drive, if he had the determination, he could come through this. He said to himself, this too shall pass. And so, it's possible. You can live your dreams, and you have to work at that. It's a moment-to-moment effort that you have to work to train your mind to serve you. You know, the Temptations had a song years ago, Just by Imagination, running away with me. In the absence of information, our imagination will run away with us, tell us that we can't do things. We begin to panic and we make decisions based upon our fears as opposed to our faith. You know, Zig Ziglar said that fear is false evidence appearing real. Faith is finding answers in the heart. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. What do you love? What turns you on? What do you really want in your life, for your life? How do you want to show up in the world? How do you want to use this gift called life? It's been said that life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. Whatever your goals are, your personal goal, your financial goal, or this social contribution, your legacy, your mark, I want you to think about it. And here's what I know, that it's possible. Here's what I know, that if you think about it, what you think about, you bring about. If you're willing to put in the work, It's possible if you continue to encourage yourself, continue to fall forward. I've got a saying, when life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. You have something special. You have greatness within you. Your dream is possible. That's my story, and I'm sticking